first thing I noticed was that my nose was not where it was supposed to be. It was like floating up here. I was just like, my whole effing face is gone. You know, I could tell. And it was just the blood and everything. They put the oxygen mask on my face. Nothing has ever burned. I mean, you might as well just taken a blowtorch to the open exposed tissue on my face. I learned somehow that they hung around and they went looking for my jaw because they were thinking if they could find it, maybe the surgeons could put it back in and things wouldn't be so bad or whatever.
All right, welcome back, listeners. As promised, it's time for a interview kind of relevant to the times. Tommy, we have a good lifelong friend of me and my wife's and family, Karen Perry, on the show. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, I think.
No, yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. So,
kind of just bring her to make fun of her.
So you didn't know this is a roast?
Yeah.
This is awesome. Okay.
I might prefer it.
Bring the family up, start roasting. So what kind of spawned this is recently we've had the helicopter and the airplane that crashed and landed in the middle of the Potomac River outside Reagan International Airport. And so watching all the news coverage and being a first responder, all of us being first responders, immediately you saw over 300 first responders go to the scene and dive in the freezing cold Potomac and start trying to save lives. No chance. Those one was going 160 this way, one was going 160 obliterated, and so there was nothing but parts. And so in one news conference I heard, it described they were still giving every news conference they would give us a number on how many people they recovered. Well, this one person at the news conference said, up to this point we have recovered 55 sets of victims. Sets. And I'm thinking to myself, a set? And then you realize what they're actually talking about. Here's an ankle, here's an elbow, here's this, and they group it together per DNA or whatever the hell, and that's a set. That's a human being.
Well, they're trying to dehumanize him, so it doesn't take a toll on him as much as it can.
Yeah, and so the one guy that they interviewed, a first responder, he goes, he started to choke up. He's like, this stays with you forever. We inhale this, and it's there. Now you own it, and we're used to picking up a victim, maybe a drowning, whatever, or a piece of a plane or something like that, but we're picking up thousands of pieces of human loved ones, okay? And so I started to think about the trauma and the PTSD that first responders, and it's taken for granted that we're going to go there and do this, and then we're just going to be great.
Yeah, you're going to forget about it.
Forget about it. We're going to go and watch the Super Bowl or the big game, as we learned. You can't call it the Super Bowl. But
and there's always a cause, right? When you go through, and we're going to get into the solution to a possible solution for PTSD and other issues, but it's important to know how those start.
Where somebody started.
Where policemen get into it a lot of times is you get a call for a regular accident. Well, or not regular, but a deadly accident. Well, there'd be kids in that car. That's not that easy. And then sometimes making death or notifying the loved ones of somebody dying. That's not easy to deal with sometimes.
It doesn't flush it when you get off.
And those are just some of the as a law enforcement and the fire departments, some of the stuff they see. Those are just the smaller ones. You go to people that get shot up, or people that are innocent bystanders that get shot up. That you watch that, and there's just so many things that can cause it. And I think the neat thing, it's not neat, but the one thing Karen can provide is what caused her anxiety PTSD, and then she went through a solution, and now she's very involved in that solution. So it's going to be a great story.
And for law enforcement.
So it's going to be a great story.
It is going to be. And Karen, I've known Karen for 35 years. I mean, our kids are best friends. But I've never heard Karen go into detail about the night. It was in the year 2000. It was a Monday night football game. The Rams were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Ricky Proehl made an unbelievable catch in the end zone. 2 days later, it was going to be Guns and Hoses. I fought that year, and Karen was going to be there with her family watching me fight, but she wasn't there. And but I've never heard her talk openly and in detail about that night. And when I asked her to come on the podcast, I asked, because we always like to get total story, the total feeling of what our stories. And I asked her if she'd be willing to do that, and Karen said she was comfortable doing it.
Yep.
So Karen, go ahead. Jay.
Your family's here.
My daughter's here, yeah, and her
Okay, your
boyfriend
daughter.
Brandon, yeah,
How-
and
are
Denise,
they-
who is like a sister, so we'll call
Yeah.
her family
Are
too.
they? Will she be hearing this story? She's heard the story, or
Oh
she,
yeah, oh yeah. She lived it and she's heard it.
Lived
We
it,
talked
okay.
about it
We
a
all
lot.
lived
Yeah,
it.
Well,
yeah.
She looks pretty young. So in 2000, she was pretty little.
Yeah, she was.
She was 6, I think. Jake was 5, and you were 6.
Yeah, her son would be here, but he's a petty officer in the Navy, so he's serving our country.
God
so
love
he's,
him.
That's
he's
awesome.
not here. So Karen, I'm going to turn the mic over to you and just talk about the night, and then what happened afterwards, and what you had to go through, and how we got here to what you're doing now today.
Sure. Okay. Well, it was late on a Monday night. It was time to go home, and some of us, we were with a big group, and some of us, my husband at the time, my ex-husband now, and somebody else and I decided to go we'd all parked at Harry's Bar and Grill, so Jefferson and 40, right? We parked there before the game and then took the shuttle back. And so we got in the car, and my husband took off in our car first, and we were just going to the Cheshire Inn. So I went back later and timed it at normal highway speeds. It was a 4-minute drive. And I was a passenger in a car that we hopped in the car when the valet came around, and I could tell that we were on 40, and I could tell we were going really fast, like too fast. And it was a convertible Mercedes. And the last thing I said was, you go under the Science Center, the overhang, and that's when I was like, oh, we were going really fast. And I looked, he was going more than 90, above 90. And I just pointed at I was like, that's our exit. And we were in the fast lane, and he just cut over, tried to make it. We cut off a car. I think it was a silver minivan. And he didn't make the exit. So we went through where the median, the median's where the road is. And the car just launched. And we were end over end, side over side. They said we took out 150 feet of chain link fence going up that hill into and we landed on the ledge there at Forest Park, and we were upside down. And that feeling, one of the biggest things that stays with me is the feeling when you lose control. You're just like in orbit in this car. And, we came to rest, and I could tell I got hit so many times. My airbag didn't deploy.
Oh.
So I was just getting hit. And one time I got hit so hard. I can't even, I could hear like the air left my body when I can still hear the sound that I made.
When you say hit, is it you hitting the side of the car and everything?
Some people think maybe it was a fence post. It was the
Oh,
roof
okay.
of the car. It was the
All right.
grass. It was the pavement. It was everything.
So it's coming through the windows now. And
Yeah.
okay.
Was your
Yeah.
seatbelt on?
Yeah, my seatbelt was on.
That's
so
probably
and
saved you from flying out of that car.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so we came to rest. I was upside down in the car. We just smushed because it was a soft top convertible, and I could just feel. And I felt up, and the first thing I noticed was that my nose was not where it was supposed to be. It was like floating up here, and then I could tell that my mouth was, there was just and the driver, he was actually an orthopedic surgeon, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And his airbag.
Yeah, I'm
deployed.
fine. Let's go.
And and I was just like, my whole effing face is gone.
Oh my
I could
God.
tell, and it was just the blood and everything. And I still think about it. It was almost like an out of body experience. How I got out of the car, the window, it was really small, and somehow I almost feel like it's almost like somebody pulled me out that maybe wasn't there. I don't think it was him. Maybe it was. I don't know. But and then you heard the sirens right away. So I'm suspecting that whatever car we cut off maybe called 911, and because they had to have seen it. And the police and ambulance and fire, everybody came right away, and it was just, it just became like this organized chaos. And it's so, when you see these guys in action, and I'm not somebody that likes to ask for help, not my forte, but I knew that night I needed help. And, the things you think about, the first thing I can remember thinking about was, I'm not going to be able to make the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch in the morning because my kids I was like a really good
So
peanut
your
butter.
first thought wasn't you're going to miss Danny's fight?
Not yet. We got there. I still thought maybe I could just get a ride home. No. But I made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every morning for both my kids and the neighbor kids. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't think I can clean this up and get home before they wake up in the morning, So, and it takes a while to realize that your whole life just changed.
Right
Everything has changed. And I can't hide this from everybody. I can't just fix it and go on. I'm in big trouble. And so the police were there, and you knew him well, I think.
Dave Wingwood.
Yeah.
He knows him. He knows him so well. He don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I think I say it better actually. Wingvermuley, right?
Yeah, yes, that's it.
Wingo, we call him.
Danny calls him Wing.
But yeah, so the whole thing just started unfolding, and it's like kind of organized chaos, and they've got me on a backboard and they're doing all this stuff, and they were trying to call. I was somehow said that my husband he was right there. He actually said later, I think, that he saw the lights, the emergency lights, but I think he was just afraid. And so he just drove straight home oh shit, I think that was them. So, anyway, and so.
So you weren't in the car with your ex-husband?
No, I was in the car.
He was in the car ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, it was somebody that.
Everybody jump in the car and let's meet all there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was we both sold orthopedic stuff, and this was a really big customer of his. So
Okay.
yeah, he was 1 second ahead of us. So yeah, everything just started to play out, and the firemen and everybody, and they wanted to call him, and the driver of the car he should have known his number, but he was kind of flustered. And so I was doing it with my bloody fingers. So I'm going 6, 2, giving them the numbers. And so they call the number, and I had it. It rang in my purse. So that didn't do them any good.
Oh my God.
So, it was just.
This is one of them nights now.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Holy cow.
It was a little nuts. It was chaotic, but I think you could tell their priority was to get me where I needed to be, and so they got me loaded up in the ambulance. And one of the things I remember in the ambulance, other than just the motion of it, was they put the oxygen mask on my face. Nothing has ever burned. You might as well just taken a blowtorch to the open exposed tissue on my face. And I just kept pulling it off, and they kept putting it back on.
Over here.
Thank God I didn't eat before this.
Sorry. Yeah, you can tell me to stop.
One of the things one of the things that you were saying is that you were using your fingers to give the phone number, and why couldn't you talk? So I don't know.
Because my jaw was missing, my jaw, my maxilla.
I don't know if I wanted to hear that. But.
My upper jaw was just blown completely out of my face.
Oh,
okay.
Carrie, can you get Tom hooked up to the machine now? I don't.
No, it's actually I can't. It's on a doctor's order, so a licensed provider has to do it. So he's going to have to power
We'll get
through.
to that later.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just absolute chaos, and it didn't end there. That was traumatic enough. But then when they got me to the hospital and all the chaos in there, which is, again, it's like organized chaos, the orchestra of what all of the doctors and the nurses do. And I heard at some point that the fireman and maybe Officer Wingo. Somebody, I learned somehow that they hung around and they went looking for my jaw, because they were thinking if they could find it, maybe the surgeons could put it back in and things wouldn't be so bad or whatever. So I don't really know that it works like that, but I really, and that's what I tell Danny, that somebody would do that for me. We're 20 plus years later, that somebody, these strangers all kind of came out of the dark of night and just rescued me. And they were willing to do, whatever it took, as much as they could to see me through. And, I don't know how that doesn't stay with somebody.
Right.
So, and you guys do it every day.
Well, you have a vivid obviously this is a night that changed your life. And your recollection of it is a story like that. There was a lot of heroes around too, that
Tons.
really that just
surrounding me.
They were just trying. That's all they could do is
Yep.
try. And even the doctors, and like you said, it's chaos, but it's what they practice on, and it's what they know best, and that's why they're really good at it.
Yeah,
What were you gonna say,
it was
Jason?
amazing.
You look remarkable. I mean, for what you just described, you would expect that you'd be like just like not the same. I don't know what you looked like before, but
Yeah.
the doctors did an unbelievable job. How many surgeries did you actually have to go through?
I had about 12,
How
some
many- over how
some
many
bigger
years?
than others, over, I don't know, 4 years, 4 or 5 years. They would do something, and then I had to heal for 6 or 12 weeks, depending on the magnitude of what they did. And then I would have the next stage. Everything was just staged procedures, kind of inside out. So yeah, it was a lot, and it became my identity. It became what I did. And then, once I got a little bit healthier after, I don't know how many weeks it was. I was on disability for a little bit, but then I tried to do it all. I went back to work and everything. I did a sales presentation without any teeth. We got the business. But I was just,
That's pretty good.
That's brave, man. That's brave.
That is good.
I just wanted everything to be normal.
Right.
And it wasn't normal. I was trying to
Oh, no
force
kidding?
normal.
No teeth
and,
is not normal.
No?
That is, but that's
No?
that's got to be the best sales win of all time.
That is
Yeah,
a huge.
and I-
This is strength.
It's got to be.
The fortitude. Yeah.
I just wanted everything to go back to being the way it was. And
Every
I could
salesman that's
feel-
listening to this podcast right now is going to take their teeth out before they
Well,
do.
no, their bosses are going to be listening
Yeah.
and saying, "What do you mean you didn't close the deal?"
Take your
Right.
get some false
Y'all
teeth.
did it with no teeth. You suck.
One of your surgeries, your tongue was
Yeah.
fastened to the top of your mouth.
Yeah. One thing I was going to tell you before we get there,
Ooh,
just
no, go-
real
oh.
quick,
No.
because I'd had a few beers that night at the game, they
Yeah.
couldn't give me any anesthesia.
Oh,
And so they, and the things you remember, like I didn't spend a lot. I tried not to spend a bunch of money on clothes, and I bought the nicest pair of wool pants. They were gorgeous and they cost too much money. And the next thing I know, I'm laying on this table and I'm like, oh my God, they're cutting off my clothes. They just like in ER or in the movies, they just went stem to stern. They just cut
some
off
nice drawers,
all my
goddamn.
clothes. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. But then, so in order to get I had glass and dirt and
Oh,
grass. They were picking. The nurses were just sitting there like picking stuff out of my face and apologizing that they couldn't give me anything. But then they had to do what they call a debridement, and it's like a power washer. So they just laid me on this metal table and they just power washed my face with no anesthesia.
They couldn't knock you out. Couldn't sedate you.
Because she had a couple beers that
Yeah,
night, Monday
I
Night
had-
Football.
you
There
couldn't.
was alcohol in my system, so they couldn't do anything
damn.
for me. But
Yes.
they had to get infection and all of that can
Yeah.
set in, so we just had to go for it. So we did. But yeah, so that was a process. A couple nights later, I can't remember if it was the nurses that brought a boombox in or if one got brought, but that we listened to your fight while I'm laying in the
Oh wow.
hospital that night, listening to Danny's fight.
I'm sorry it was such a short tape because I knocked his ass out
Oh,
early.
here we go. Here
know?
we go.
Can we cut this
You could
part
have just
out?
replayed it a few times, but it didn't last long.
But
Bam!
there's like a movie like that, isn't there? It was Brian's
$1 Million
song.
Baby
No,
or something?
Brian's song, right? Wouldn't there were a part in
I
there
don't
where
know,
they
Denise would have to. Is there?
right?
Yeah.
Gail
They were
Sayers.
listening to the championship game and they couldn't play in it.
Oh,
Yeah, Brian Piccolo.
Brian
That was it.
Piccolo.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yep. See,
Gail Sayers. Yeah, great movie.
I thought I was
Really
going to
good
get.
movie.
I thought I was just
We
going
had
to
a
get
phone a
railed here
friend
for
for
a
you on
minute.
that.
No,
You
I was
started a
kinda
whole bunch of
confused
shit.
where
We
it's
had to
going.
phone. We had to use our lifeline to the
Yeah,
audience for
he
that.
was
But
mad.
I-
He
that's
got
it.
mad
I'm
at him
painting the
because
picture.
he fumbled and he kept telling him, "Pick it up, dummy. Pick it."
That's
Gail-
what she was saying. Punch, dummy.
Yeah.
Punch him, dummy.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right. Sorry, we
No,
ran
that's
off the
all right.
rails like
that's
we
how
usually
we
do.
roll.
yeah.
That's
No,
how,
I it's good.
and you fit right in with that. So get on with it.
So that was a bad night, and the next day they had to do surgery. But during that, while I was in the ER, before or after all the debridement and everything, there was the plastic surgery resident. He was an ENT plastic surgeon who was on call, was there with me, and I just remember he comes kind of right by my head. I'm on the stretcher, and he comes right by my head, and he's like, "Hey, who's your plastic surgeon?" And I'm like, "Don't have a plastic surgeon." And he's like, "If you let me," he goes, "if you were my sister, I'd call Bryke Ridenauer. Will you let me call him?" And I said, "Absolutely." He's like, if you were my sister, that's who I'd call. And so I said, yeah, he was one of the attendings in the Wash U program. And so And when you said about, how I look, I owe everything to Dr. Ridenauer
Wow.
and some
Wow.
other, my dentist, my periodontist, there was a bunch of things that happened, but Dr. Ridenauer really, and he was just he became a friend, for years. He got me through some really, really difficult times. He's an amazing man. So I
Awesome.
just,
One more question.
Yeah.
How many bones did you break? I mean, other than your facial injuries, what?
I had a separated shoulder from the seatbelt. You could see the mark of the seatbelt, and I didn't
That's
know
a
that
nothing.
until
That's
they
a
didn't
nothing
even.
at this point.
She
Yeah,
popped, she
and
popped
I
that back
had-
end to see.
Yeah, I took
That's
care of that myself.
I'm good on the shoulder, bro.
Yeah, no, I didn't even notice it until like the next night. I reached up to move those little TVs they have, and I was like, oh my god. So that's how we figured that out. But I had a chip fracture on C2. So I really think I'm pretty sure I came within an inch of my life. It could have ended very differently.
yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say.
sounds like it.
So something I take that to mean I was meant for more, and my kids needed me, and so I'm still here.
Real quick,
So,
what happened to
Yes.
the driver?
Nothing. Story for a different day.
Exactly.
No, I mean, no, he didn't get
Oh,
hurt.
nothing. No,
Right.
he had like a bump on his knee and
Right.
No
stuff.
way.
Yeah. Yeah,
He
'cause
must-
his airbag
And
deployed.
I'm just
He
gonna. I don't know who
basically
that
walked
man
away.
is. I don't. But he can fuck off. I'm just throwing that out there.
Ditto.
You can't be doing that.
You're
shit.
on the right path.
Yeah.
We're going to go
I'm
there
just-
another time.
all right,
Yeah,
let's go.
that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
go ahead. I'll just
Um,
leave it at that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, ultimately, like I said, they used my hip, and so they took my iliac crest, your hip bone up here, and they used that to put it up in because like the bone was missing that your nose hooks onto, so they had to get something there. And then they took my tongue and they sliced about a third of my tongue and sewed it up over the bone because the chances were better. They call it a vascular graft. So if they used the living part of my tongue, then there was blood supply and it stood a better chance.
Like a leech.
Yeah, it stood a better chance. But so I spent 2 weeks with my tongue
Trust me.
sewn to the roof of my
Oh,
mouth.
my God.
And it was really, really, it was equally traumatizing. I'm not going to lie.
I
It
got a
was
quick story about stapling the tongue to your top of your mouth. We did it. We got a guy and then he got beat up or he got injured at the scene. So we sent him to the hospital. He was completely out of control, wouldn't shut up. And there was an Indian doctor that came in and he was just being as obnoxious as he could be. Just couldn't be any more obnoxious to the nurses and everybody. And the guy comes in, he goes, "If you do not shut up, I will staple your tongue to the roof of your mouth." And you had it happen.
Yeah, I did.
And
Yeah,
how he
on-
knew it could
on
be done.
purpose,
Was he an
they
Indian
thought it was a
doctor?
great
Yes.
idea.
On purpose.
Well, how was
Yeah.
my Indian accent?
It was
Pretty
good.
good.
It wasn't bad.
That's fucking impressive, I thought.
Oh, my
But
God.
let's move on.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, in the meantime, I just kept, I couldn't really eat when it happened. And, after it happened, I should say, it was obviously hard to get things down. And I was just trying to breathe because there was so much blood and everything. I would just lay there. Sometimes I didn't fall asleep at night because I was like, just breathe, don't choke, because my nose was
Wow.
equally as jacked up. So there was I didn't have a good option for taking in air and everything. So,
Which is kind of
and
important.
I just kind of started losing weight, and that the presentation I did without any teeth, I ran out of holes on my belt loop, so I had to make
my
a
gosh.
couple extra other ones, and
Ice pick.
one of the and that was noticeable. So
How many months after this injury, this accident, did you do that?
I don't know, 6 months, somewhere between 6 and 12
That's
months, maybe.
impressive.
I don't know.
pretty good, isn't it?
But I kind of made it. I left the hospital too soon. I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with my kids. I don't think the kids came to the hospital. They might have, but I don't think they did. And so I just wanted to go home. So I kind of fudged some of the stuff you're supposed to be able to do before you leave. And I went home, and then, then in come the next group of angels where my family on both sides, Jim's mom and dad and my mom and dad and my sister, it was just all hands on deck. And everybody just did their best to figure out what to do with me. And I have this vivid memory of Jake, 5-year-old little Jake. And I was laying upstairs in bed, obviously, and I've been trying to drink Gatorade and red Jello, like what can we get down her,
Right.
And he comes up, and you know how little kids carry a soda can kind of with both hands
Right.
because they're little. And he walks in the door with this Sprite in his hand, trying to help me out. And I was like leaning over the bed, just everything was coming up. I couldn't keep anything down. And I'll never forget the look on his face. Like,
Now, what kind of
oh
reaction-
my God.
What kind of reaction when they first saw you come home from the hospital? They had.
Jesse,
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
What did she say?
She was scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister was holding her, and she's like, give your mom a hug. And Jessie wouldn't. She was just hanging on to my sister for dear
Well,
life.
you look different than
It
the last
was,
time
yeah.
she saw you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I stood up at one point that week and looked in the mirror, and nothing looked familiar except my eyes. Like I was
Wow.
like, okay, I can see those are my eyes.
So that's,
and that's about
kind
it.
of traumatic for a 5
Yeah.
and 6-year-old too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing was.
But as this
traumatic for
goes on,
everybody.
you're not okay. They fix you up a little bit,
Mhm.
but now talk about how. I mean, we talked a little earlier about your sleep patterns and what transpires over the years
Yeah.
after this happens.
Right.
And it was just a progression. I mean, I couldn't, every time I closed my eyes, starting from day one, still in the hospital, I just kept the crash. I was kind of seeing and feeling the crash. So then I had to have a TV on just to, and it was back when the election was contested, the hanging chads. And remember
Oh,
how
yeah.
the news coverage was
Yep.
just bonkers 24/7. So I would just kind of keep that on to keep from thinking about what was going on. And I just kind of lost the ability to sleep. And my plastic surgeon was a little concerned. So he sent me to a psychiatrist who, the minute I started talking, he just kind of, and he's very reputable, and he started writing prescriptions. And, I started taking an antidepressant and, something for anxiety, something for sleep, a couple things for sleep. And I know that it's important. You have to have those things, but it also, like, you lose track of what's baseline,
Right.
And so there's a part of me that feels like that didn't help. I mean, I'm sure it helped some, but it also created some new problems. I kind of really lost track of who I was, what was really me over time. And I couldn't sleep without being heavily medicated, which made it really hard to get through the day. I can remember like peeling myself out of bed to get the kids off to school. And it was all I could do. And then I just went right back to bed, and basically.
So that was maybe depression.
Oh,
at that
yeah,
point,
I'm sure
big
it
time?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. It was depression. There was just so much anxiety. I was just.
You name it, you got it.
Yeah, you name it, I
PTSD.
had it. Yeah, I mean, all of those things,
So you're
that-
going through, and it's horrible.
Mhm.
And now let's talk about the solution. Which
Okay, all right. So yeah, after the tongue, all the other surgeries that came, I had some complications and things that didn't make it any easier. And I just happened to be at a fast forward 8 years. And
Okay.
I'm with a friend at a 5K run, and I just struck up a conversation with somebody that had a polo shirt on that looked medical, and I just asked him what Alpha-Stim was.
He had that look.
Yeah, and
I
and
don't
he-
have that look.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
that you don't have an
You're good.
Alpha-Stim
She wouldn't be
shirt
coming
on.
up to you.
Nobody come up
Yeah,
to me
I-
going,
I
Hey,
"Hey,
I got a
said-
dime bag. If she needed a dime bag, she's
No.
going to you right
I
now.
was-
I wasn't gonna go there. but I
Hey,
was saying
Tommy,
the
I
same
got a
thing.
back issue." Yeah.
Tommy, if I didn't
Well,
know what Adidas
hey,
was, I would have asked you.
I will ask you this: Did he ever suggest smoking weed? Your psychiatrist buddy that was writing all the
No,
scripts?
it was too far before
See,
that.
It was before
It was
that.
way before
before
that.
Well, Tommy will talk to you.
No, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so, and he said, well, it's a medical device, and we're, for anxiety, insomnia, and pain. And I just kind of brushed. I was like, I haven't slept in 8 years.
Right,
I
he
was
just hit the trifecta
sarcastic.
of what you were
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can connect you with a psychologist or a doctor and let you try it if you're interested. And I at the time sold bone growth stimulators, which are other electrical devices, for bone healing and whatnot. So I just felt like I knew what other electrical devices was out there, and I'd never heard of this. So I just sort of brushed it off. And then I went home and I thought, what do I really have to lose? Because what I'm doing right now is not,
Work.
I'm not getting to the other side very well. And so I went and I go into Dr. Landsberger's office. God bless Tom Landsberger. And he hooks me up. It's really easy. You just clip on the ear clip electrodes. And I just remember everything let go. Like everything just released.
Almost instantly, or
Within like 2 or 3 minutes. And I
Can we
was
try
like,
it tonight?
what is this? And he started talking to me about, the
You
mechanism.
sure it's not mushrooms?
And he goes, would you rather go out and just relax on the couch in the waiting room? And I was like, yeah. And it was like a 10 o'clock in the morning appointment. It was a Friday. And I went home from that, and I said, I don't want to leave here without one of these. And he had one for me to rent out of his office.
Wow.
And I went home and took the best 3-hour nap I'd had since before the crash. I just I was out. Yeah. And it took time, I had to use it every day, and I started noticing some small, improvements, and but it took some time. But all of a sudden I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to stop taking Lunesta. I think I'm going to try a night without. And when you have a device there, you can use it anytime. So you get anxious about not taking your sleep medication.
Right.
So I just would put that on, and then I'd fall asleep for a while. Yeah.
Let's bring it up so everybody knows
Yeah.
what she's talking
So
about.
it's called Alpha-Stim, and it is FDA cleared, Class 2 medical device.
How come we've never seen or heard? I've never heard of it.
Because it's
Yeah.
not. Here,
We're just a
I'm just going to
small
go into my
company
little.
and-
I'm just going to
yeah.
go into my little thing. Is that because the AD nobody makes money off of this through
No, not big
doctors and
pharma.
stuff. No doctor's
Right.
going to give you this because they don't get any kickbacks. But that's just my. Never mind.
All right, thanks for that. Okay,
I
let's
agree
carry
with you.
on.
But we have-
Which I
Conspiracy.
guarantee you this works.
All right, so go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, and I mean we've been in use in the VA with veterans and even in active duty service members. It's been used overseas, and I think Iraq. I can go on about all the places that it's been in use, but it's really been in the last maybe 6 or 7 years that we've really turned our attention to first responders and realized,
Yeah, let's.
Mhm.
So now you got relief. So you're
I
a
got
success
relief.
story
Yep.
from this, the Alpha-Stim, and then tell us how you got into the actual business.
I bugged the distributor, who's the one that sent me to the doctor. I bugged him for the better part of a year. I just kept, calling him every month or so. I was like, I think I can, I know how to do medical devices. I think I can do, really well with this. People need to understand the relief that this can provide. And nothing works for everybody, but it works for most people. And, we've got the evidence to support it. We've got peer-reviewed journal articles and things like that. So it's something that I just persistently stayed after him. He hired me. So I was basically his assistant. And then some stuff happened, and then I took over all of Missouri and Southern Illinois. And now I manage the region. So I'm in charge of the sales in 19 states. And so I get to go all over the place to VA medical centers and everything.
Other than PTSD, what else is this good for?
So we're FDA cleared indications are anxiety, insomnia, and pain. So I have to say,
That's
I
why I
know.
smiled. She said that earlier.
I know, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to repeat.
No,
Thanks for
no,
bringing it
he
yeah.
left. He
So-
went upstairs,
no,
went
no,
to the
no.
bathroom, and
What
then
about depression? Because you talked about that.
yeah, we actually used to be indicated for depression, and then they did a review of research and determined that we didn't have enough data to support depression, but we got reclassified into a better classification, Class 2, for anxiety, insomnia, and we were already there for pain. So
Well, all that
you can use it off label for whatever you want.
But do you think it works for depression?
I think it takes a little longer to work for depression. And a really interesting thing is our company, we acquired a neuroscience company, and they got approval to fast track a new technology for depression that is going to be transformational. So I think we're going to have an answer in a couple of years for depression that's different than
I mean, that's
anything.
a big
But
problem with a lot
Yeah.
of
There's
people.
reasons that
Yeah.
depression happens, and that's
Right.
that. What that does is eliminates 3 of the reasons that it could happen.
Yeah.
with the
insomnia,
pain
pain, and
Right.
So now you're selling it. Now you're
Mhm.
with the company, and now you're focusing a big portion of your attention on first responders.
Yep.
Do you have any success stories with a first responder?
We across the country, we've worked with so many. I mean, we in Dayton SWAT, we even have I think a published clinical paper on the Dayton SWAT.
SWAT team?
Yep. And so they would be very familiar with that whole thing. But I've personally worked with a police officer here in town that was shot and paralyzed in the line of duty, and I worked with him for quite a long time. A firefighter came to me. He reached out to me. He was desperate, and he was looking for alternatives. And he got my name through just our home office, somebody local in St. Louis. And I actually got him into Dr. Landsberger, the same doctor that had helped me. This was about 6 years ago. And we were able to get Jake a device. And kind of kept in touch for a few years. And then I reached back out to him not too long ago because things are growing and people in the first responder community seem to be talking more about mental health. You know, it's not quite
Absolutely.
the stigma.
Absolutely.
And so we just got together and, you know, we were brainstorming and he just said, listen, you know, he's a fire captain now and he's got 2 little kids at home. So he doesn't have a ton of time, but he said, anything I can do to help spread the word, because he said this device, he said, I was in a very dark place and this device just helped to kind of reset things so that, you know, it doesn't solve your problems, but it puts you in a better place to work through everything that needs to be worked through.
Absolutely.
So it's a tool that you don't have to go off duty. You know, if you're on some medications, right, you can't be on duty if you take certain medications and whatnot. So you don't have to worry about that. You actually feel more alert after you treat in most cases. So it's not like a benzodiazepine or something where you feel groggy and heavy, and that's part of the reason you can't be on duty. You know, taking that
Didn't
kind
you
of stuff.
send some to the LA firefighters?
Yeah, our team in LA has been going out on weekends and they're working. They've got, you know, we always have to partner with a healthcare provider because it has to be on a doctor's orders or a licensed healthcare providers' orders. And so our sales team has been spending their weekends helping to provide treatments for the firefighters that have been out, you know.
So
and we did
explain
the
how
same
it,
thing
can you explain how it works?
Yeah.
What's the technology behind it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the mechanism of action, it's in 2 ways. The first thing we do, the more superficial thing we do, just because of the ear clip electrodes, you know, you clip them on your ear and on your cranial nerves all kind of congregate in your ear, interestingly enough. So what we can show through EEG and MRI is that we stimulate the vagus nerve, the trigeminal nerve, and the vestibulocochlear nerve, the 8th cranial nerve.
I know where all of them are.
I know. And so, but you hear a lot about vagus nerve stimulators. You know, it's the longest nerve in the body or longest cranial nerve in the body, and people associate it with, like, you know how people say you have a gut feeling, you know, and it's all of that connection. So, but then probably more importantly, and our main mechanism of action is working on the cortical oscillations in the temporal lobe, which sounds fancy, but it's what they're doing. Your brain works in a series of networks, large and small networks, depending on what you're doing, what you're thinking. Are you awake? Are you asleep? There's, you know, little different parts of your brain are all working kind of in concert with each other. And so by stimulating the temporal lobe, we act on what's called the default mode network. And what that is, to make it so that everybody gets it, is, you know, that kind of talk track that goes in your head, like,
I know about the talk track.
Am I
get people
doing,
talking
you know,
all
am
the
I doing a
time.
good job on the podcast?
Right,
How's this going to
exactly.
go? You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you're worrying, if you're troubled, if you're, you know, traumatized, it just gets overactive. And so we normalize that pattern, and that's why people feel more calm and clear-headed and alert, even sometimes after the first time that they treat. And then with repeated exposure, with treating on a regular basis, the results tend to go deeper and last longer and be cumulative. And we have research that shows that.
So typically on a day, how many times do you treat yourself and for how long?
I started off treating once or twice a day. You treat between 20 and 60 minutes. And it's all about, you set it for comfort. If you stimulate that 8th cranial nerve, that's what makes you feel dizzy, like you're on a rocking boat. So we use that as the guide. When you get up,
I know
You're
that
dizzy,
feeling.
come back down.
Right.
yeah, if you're dizzy, come back down. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's this population, more is better, right? I want to turn it up. I was working with some police officers in Oklahoma, and it's my fault.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, they did.
And I didn't.
I know where they're coming
wasn't-
from.
I maybe wasn't forceful enough in saying don't turn it up
right.
that high. And they did kind of spend the rest of the day feeling a little bit
Policemen
off.
are the kind of people that turn tasers all the way
Yeah.
up before
Yeah,
they tase people.
Yeah. If I say 2's good, they're going to go to
10,
4 or
yep.
5.
No, but listen,
Yeah.
I got a
I
I
question.
said it's similar
Tommy
to the,
touched on it in the very beginning
Okay.
about
Shut up.
big farm. He didn't say big farm, but he kind of. They don't prescribe this because they don't make money off it. So who prescribes this to you?
Doctors who are appreciative, and all of them,
Okay.
psychiatrists, nurse
But
practitioners.
in reality, how many are actually out there pushing it?
It's growing every day. When
Okay.
I first
It's
started,
good to
my,
hear.
my first couple years with this company were tough. You know, I got laughed out of plenty of offices.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
like that anymore, not to
Good.
the degree that it was.
Did you ever think about
Especially
taking your teeth out?
Yeah.
I
those-
can't anymore.
I think those are permanent.
Yeah, they're.
Do you
I
think-
need to take
I
my
can't-
teeth
yeah,
out for this
that-
one?
that
I need to
was-
win this
that
one.
tool was taken away from me.
Okay.
Do you
Just,
think you're
just darken them up real good.
Yeah.
You can't see them.
I could.
Do you think you get more credibility and you're a better salesperson because you're a success story with this?
I don't share my story a lot.
Okay.
I actually probably used to share it more than I do now. But I don't think anybody would doubt my commitment. And
Okay.
you know what I know is what that is that is relief. And
You believe
know,
in it.
I do. And
Obviously.
people,
That
if I
helps.
can,
When you
if
believe
I
in a
can-
product, you can sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people that are desperate for relief and have tried everything else are
Right.
listening.
Yeah. And I don't care, if you're a first responder, if you're a veteran, if you're a mom, if you're a stressed out college student, we have a study actually that'll be out in a few months that was in college age kids from UNC Chapel Hill on generalized anxiety disorder. So, we've got another study coming out very soon on patients that had traumatic brain injury from the Tampa VA. So, anxiety and insomnia is alive and well in so many different conditions, whether it's, all the off-label stuff that I'm not supposed to talk about, but you guys talked about.
Right.
Anxiety and insomnia is such a component of that. So, people.
And several medications is not the answer. Like
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
I
said,
mean-
that's not a long
they put you on 3 different medications to take care of 3 different things, where this isn't even a medication and it can take care of 3 different
So for
things.
someone
Right.
watching and finding this out for the first time and listening, do they go to their doctor, or is there an easier way?
You can go to your doctor.
You have to go to your doctor.
Yeah, go to your doctor, your nurse practitioner, and every state is different who can order it. So in some states,
What's the name of
even-
your company?
It's Electromedical Products. I work directly for Alpha-Stim for Electromedical Products International. So it's Alpha, like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Alpha-Stim, STIM.com.
We're going to get that on the webpage for with
Yes, we
this
will.
episode.
I mean, that's
we'll put
something
it on
that
the
could help
webpage.
all the. And I think our
It's going to
viewers
cost
are
your boss a lot of money,
half.
but we're going to put
Yeah.
it on there
Yeah.
because we're just looking to help.
We'll just tell them we'll send them an invoice.
yeah, don't worry about it. And we're keeping this.
Yeah.
That's
Leave that
hers.
behind.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
that's what we do is we try to help, veterans, connect them with, departments at their VA that will order one, because every hospital, it seems like different departments have embraced it. Some at times it's mental health, sometimes it's physical therapy, but we help veterans navigate
Nice.
that all the time. And I think
And
25% of first responders are veterans. I heard that recently.
I couldn't verify, deny, or verify that
Yeah.
one.
And we don't fact
So-
check on this podcast.
Okay,
If you listen
all
to
right.
that, we don't. So
yeah, and I mean,
we
in
are
some
welcome to
places
bullshit.
in Phoenix, the 100 Club in Phoenix, they have a mental health, like a stipend for everybody. And so they actually found a source of funding for firefighters and police through the 100 Club. So, when you were navigating some nonprofits for first responders, active duty service members, and people to get one covered by a nonprofit.
Wow.
So,
Do you find
Yeah.
some doctors, like if I went to my doctor and they've never heard of this, and I said I want Alpha-Stim, what happens at that point? And they say no. Can you reach out to you and say, is there any doctors that you can suggest for people to go to? Can you suggest that for them?
You can. We try. Sometimes doctors don't want to be the Alpha-Stim go-to, because they have to intake them and you have to become a patient. So,
Right.
and theirs can be called. We also have a telehealth with, we have telehealth that's licensed in every state. So
Okay.
if you can't get a doctor or a
Telehealth
nurse
is good.
practitioner, you can
That's
just
the
go
best.
for
Okay.
for $99. You can have a telehealth consultation. We'll go through contraindications and
Okay.
make sure you don't have any issues, and then you can get your order and buy your device. And you can use your HSA and your Flex Spend account, things like that.
Okay.
It works. So
Well, awesome. Karen, what an episode.
Ah, that was a
We
good
dove
episode.
deep and covered a lot.
It's actually very interesting.
I didn't even know what
unbelievable.
I was walking into today.
Yeah, I know.
It was
Well-
very interesting.
thanks for having me.
No, that was
That was
awesome.
our-
Hey,
Yeah.
hopefully this will help some people out that listens.
Absolutely.
That's
and
my
that's
goal.
what Danny's
Yeah.
idea was behind this.
He
Yeah.
didn't think of
Yes.
that. She
And-
did.
No, I did. I thought me and Denise were thinking about it.
Denise was
No,
thinking about it.
yeah, they had to.
Was it?
I had to overcome resistance. Yeah.
Well done.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast, coming to you almost live from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis, home of the famous thin crust Seabo's Pizza and daily lunch specials. We had a daily lunch special yesterday.
Hmm?
The smeared chicken, or what it was covered with gravy.
Smothered chicken.
Smothered, smeared,
Smeared.
Sounds
smeared
good.
chicken, smeared.
Smothered sounds better.
It was obliterated chicken, covered in gravy blood. But anyway, it was very good. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer Jen.
Welcome back, Producer John. You survived the flu bug or whatever you had. What did you have going?
I had the funk, man.
The Funkadicious?
The
So you
Funkazoid fever.
You didn't get Wally Pip then. You're back.
Nope. Yep.
I wasn't sure who was going to be here tonight.
Wally Pip. Lou Gehrig went 0 for 5 in this time around.
You're back.
I'm back.
So were you sitting home watching that us not press the red record button, laughing your ass off?
Yeah, of course.
Did you press it?
Did you
Just
press
making-
it tonight?
just double checking.
Because I'm serious. I'm going to start checking you
I've-
guys.
Jack's got PTSD from it. He said.
I forgot to
Sheen.
press it once, and
Jake.
Jack caught it
Good job.
back in the old days.
Well, Jake said he has PTSD from it, so he's going to use that little thing we talk about.
One of our best podcasts ever, and it wasn't recorded.
I don't know about that.
It was very
think-
it was very entertaining.
I think we did better when we redid it.
That's because I wasn't here. I
just saying.
feel what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I had a pickleball match. The thing about pickleball matches is if I was the fourth, and if you don't show up, then 3 people are screwed. You guys can do without me on that.
Oh, we know.
I
I know that.
It's kind of like missing bingo. All the old heads. Hey, I didn't make a bingo.
Do you put little trinkets on the court outside?
I
the
think
court?
that's next steps.
So start getting trinkets.
Pickleball is a feeder to the bingo game.
Oh, feeder. I can't play pickleball. I gotta go to bingo
Pickleball's
now.
a bingo
All right.
feeder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna get some stuff.
Everybody gets mad when you win. Bingo.
It's the next
You
step.
know, the pickleball community is it's getting bigger.
So
Right.
Denise, get prepared when you get a little bit older, a lot older. You'll be playing bingo next. Competitive bingo.
You know his competitive ass will be the
Right.
first one going.
He'll be buying,
Nudging.
he'll buy like 20 cards.
It's gonna be
All he
cheating.
needs is a 064.
Oh my God! Hey, tonight's before we get into our shenanigans, for those just tuning in, our guest tonight was a pretty good interview, wasn't it?
Oh, awesome.
What do you
Awesome.
think, JJ?
I thought she did great.
Unbelievable. So we had
Interesting.
a lifelong friend, Karen Perry, talking about a trauma that she went through, and she went into detail about it, like I've never heard before, and it spawned her into a career of helping first responders with their traumas and PTSD, and she does a really great
Pain,
job.
anxiety,
Yeah,
insomnia.
yeah.
I got
It's-
somnia.
you got.
The thing is, when she's describing the accident that she
Yeah.
was in,
Yeah.
I kept looking at him. He's like,
Oh, and every time he's like,
I'm squeamish, dude.
He's
I am
taking all
squeamish.
punches.
yeah.
Yeah.
And those for the squeamish, those like me that are squeamish, this is a good one. to
That was a
sit through.
doozy. That was a doozy. I mean, and the power of her. So, and I couldn't say the name real well, but Officer Dave Wingo was at the scene.
Wing Bermuda.
That was actually pretty good.
That was pretty good. That's a hard name.
It
But
is,
anyway,
it is.
I forgot to say this when during the interview, but I called him in the next day or two after the accident, and our listeners across we're like 56 countries now, 27 million,
Something like that. Maybe 62.
viewers, right around 27.
We're on
million.
4 planets now, too.
4 planets. But Wingo tells me that he's never seen a stronger person, a stronger will at the scene of an auto accident in his life. And he told me that, and I said, yeah, that sounds like Karen. And he said she was just so matter of fact in a chaotic moment. And so
Yeah, you can tell the way she tells the story is that
it was
I
like,
mean,
okay, now what do we
no.
do now? Yeah, where do we go from here? And just it
neat
is what
story.
it is.
And then, like you said, the solution to the trauma that she went through and what she went through after recovering physically. So many people in law enforcement and firefighting and the military all suffer from those things, and it's a success story at the end. But
Yeah,
it starts out pretty gruesome. I can't say that. I was wincing now.
yeah. You were
No
there,
doubt.
but So anyway, so stay tuned for that. That interview's coming up next after the opening. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and share button. We're a grassroots podcast. Like I say, we're trying to get to that 5th planet, Producer John.
We're close. I think Elon Musk is going to help us out.
Good. So
Starlink.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but what planets are we on?
Earth.
Okay, that's one.
Times 3.
Okay.
China.
That's not a planet.
Mars.
We're gonna make it
Mars.
one.
Jupiter.
Just make it one.
I have a new nickname for you, Tommy.
What's that?
TT.
Oh, that's the trial I'm covering, baby.
Yeah. Your Tommy Trials.
Oh,
So talk a little bit about that, because we're getting a huge response from our listeners about the trial that you're covering. So you have 36 seconds to tell us about
it'll
that.
take a little longer than that, but I
Okay,
I
moving
thought it
on,
would be.
JJ. So anyway, do you have a
Zen? Yeah, no.
All right, go ahead.
But no, it's been fun. Like the first day of the trial, I walked in and was just going to walk in the courtroom because I didn't know how they have that set up anymore. And the guy asked me, "Who you with?" I was like, "The Brighter Side of Blue podcast." He's like, "Oh, you're the media. Go over there."
Media room.
So I had to go. It's an overflow room.
So we're stepping up.
yeah,
Stepping up.
I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna
We're
get my
players
media
now.
credentials now. Shit, I'll cover the
The
Cardinals.
White
and
House,
stuff.
yeah, she said flat out.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
want to get down to
exactly.
the Cardinals game.
I'm telling you.
You should go to Super Bowl and cover that.
So I go over to the other room.
Can't call it Super Bowl. I have to call it big
Superb owl.
game.
Yeah, we'll be
Superb
getting
owl.
fined over the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't want.
But I went over to the across the courtroom where they had just the audio the first day, but now they have audio and video, and it's awesome. I go right there every day because the courtroom is pretty packed with TT's friends and family, and so you go over there and it's got I got my own table. I just sit there and you can use your phone over there. You can at least look at your phone and keep it on
because
like,
you're media,
on
you're
silent.
reporting live.
Right, that's what I'm doing, and. So yeah, it's been fun. You know, I got approached in the elevator today by somebody, and she looked at me, and a younger gal, and she goes, "You the YouTube guy?" I said, "I am." She goes, "You got something wrong today, or you got something wrong." I go, "What's that?" And then she told me that a guy by the name of Darwin Anderson. I said the first day that he was a cooperating defendant, and that was wrong. But he was mentioned in the same sentence with a cooperating defendant, so I assumed that he was a cooperating defendant.
So you put a case on Darwin.
Yeah, 'cause
Right,
that's a dangerous
exactly,
thing to be accused
exactly.
of.
Right.
Because
Yes, exactly.
You better clean
And
that
back
shit
on
up.
I
the
did.
street,
I cleaned it up.
cooperating defendant
I-
means you're a what?
I cleaned it up
Snitch.
today.
Snitch.
I cleaned it up today, and I told her I would.
It's too late.
He's already got people
Yeah,
out
yeah,
after him.
he's in the
Nah.
river. Whatever.
Darwin's in witness protection now.
I unintentionally caused beef.
Yeah, yeah.
This thing's all about beefs, babe. There's more beefs going on, and people getting whacked, drug dealing going on. It's a very interesting case, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be about a 3-week trial, but you can tell the work that the policemen put into this thing, and the work they did, unbelievable stuff. That's just how it all ties together. U.S. attorneys are doing a great job. The defense is just doing the normal defense stuff, and the cooperating witnesses come with some damning stuff, and they go into how they're liars. And
It's going to be good. Are you going to try to do all 3 weeks every day?
absolutely,
I'm impressed, man.
I'm very
it's getting us
impressed.
some. It just what
Went to
hey.
lunch with him
If
yesterday.
you ever need a day off, just get a hold of JJ and have him swing by there. And
Actually,
Yeah,
I met
but-
the St. Louis Post-Dispatch gal. She's a younger gal, and if I do miss something, I just ask her what I missed, and she fills me in. And
oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Well, you should just go there to the end of the day.
that's how the
then.
media people work, man.
You're a team.
I'm starting to get on board with the defund the police shit.
You're out.
And that's the end of the podcast. Defund these nuts. That's what we were based on. Defund these nuts. Where are? Remember, I got those little. Yeah, I don't know.
I got a story about the. Well, there's a story. There's this true story just came
About
out
what?
today. Well,
Just
a lady,
don't say, I got a story about, then
a
go on to the
wife,
story.
or
You got a
wife.
hair on your mic. It's freaking me out.
That's freaking me out now.
No, I got it.
Anyway, so her husband passed away and she couldn't get into his phone, didn't know the password, and she said he always said it was something I loved. So she kept trying to guess it, and they couldn't get it. So they actually had to take it to the phone company to find out what the password is so she can get into his phone, and it was D's nuts.
Yes.
He was a listener.
He was a listener.
We're down to 23,463.
Right. Right.
You know,
Was, when people
Can't afford to lose
People are
listeners.
listening to us now that didn't listen to us in the beginning. That was our shirt. Remember?
Yeah.
Defund D's nuts. I know you remember. But
I ran into a guy at men's club at my church, and a guy said, he asked me, have you ever gone back and listened to your first or second episodes? I go, I'm so afraid. He goes, dude, it's hilarious how raw we were. And it was all your
We're better?
dumbass idea at the bar to do this
Are we?
podcast.
I question, or are we better?
I quit.
Oh, you quit all the time.
Yeah.
You quit like 3 weeks in a row back then.
Yeah.
You were on a roll.
So while you were gone last week,
While
producer
you were
John-
what?
Gone.
No.
G gone. G gone, right, Denise? There's a famous 911 dispatcher out, and Denise Fiesel's in the crowd eating a famous Seabo's thin crust pizza. But anyway, producer John, we all gave our predictions for the big game on Sunday, and so this will be broadcast. This episode will be broadcast the Monday. The game will already be decided, so we're already on record. But can you give us your prediction?
I say there's been so much, conjecture that everything's fixed in the Chiefs' favors. I think the Eagles will get a lot of good calls. I think Sunday, but I think the Chiefs will win again.
I am so rooting.
Yeah, you kind of threw us a curveball right there.
Yeah.
What the hell was it? You led up to saying that the Eagles were going to win, the Phillies, and then you went right back to the Chiefs.
I have no idea.
I don't think
actually.
you're recovered yet. I don't think you're quite. Did you press a button? Are we recorded? Because you don't seem too sharp tonight.
I'm rooting for a controversial call in the Chiefs' favor to win it.
Oh, there'll be
And
riots.
just let people go nuts.
There will be riots.
They'll be mad as a mug.
Unless you're a Chiefs fan.
Right.
Right. So JJ, this is our this show is our last show before Valentine's Day.
I heard.
So I all my useless information surrounds Valentine's Day.
That's nice.
Okay. You ready for it?
Love it.
All right. So in the 6th century BC, so before Christ, right? The Romans celebrated a holiday called Lupercalia, and it was always in February, between February 12th and 13th and 15th, which right around the 14th, but it was between those days. Lupercalia was
It's the only
celebrated.
day between those days.
No, it is, but I mean,
It's the one day between those days.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I didn't want to say it because the end of my story tells you about.
It's
divorce.
It's 13 days after February 1st.
All right, don't leave.
I was getting ready
Okay.
to go. I was
So
getting
no,
ready to go.
6th century BC. Stay. The Romans celebrated Lupercalia, and what that was they sacrificed. All the men brought an animal and sacrificed the animal, and upon its death, they would slap the women with it, the hide. They'd beat the women with the hide of the animal that they sacrificed. Okay, because they felt that would make them more fertile. Okay.
That was just
So
frustration.
Lupercalia, so it was just frustration.
So,
Fertile?
More
Fertile?
fertile.
Fertile.
Sounds like they're freaks.
So
'Cause back then you
Lupercalia, so these guys are smacking the women with the hides of the animals that they sacrificed to make them more fertile. And then once that process is done, the women would be paired off with the men by lottery to go procreate. No choice, by lottery.
So you didn't have sex with the person you just smacked with the hide?
There's a distinct possibility the person that smacked you with a lamb hide, you would have to get paired up in a lottery and go off with them
Okay.
and procreate. And you'd be more fertile because you got smacked around with it, and so you probably have a baby.
So this had something to do with Valentine's Day or S&M, or the origination of S&M.
No, so it was always between the 13th and the 15th.
Did
Of
you have to
course
buy
it
a
was.
card too?
Pope Gelasius the First outlawed Lupercalia in the 5th century A.D.
Sure.
and came up with St. Valentine's Day on the 14th. So that's a lot of years. That's probably like 1,000, if not 50,000 years later. And but they let it go. They let Lupercalia go for all that time. It was acceptable until this Pope said, "That's the end of that. No more of that."
No more of that.
Is that stupid?
Can we,
It
can
sure
we refer
is.
to the story if we go home and smack them with the hide? Stay with us.
I wouldn't do it.
Quit taking them out to dinner and smack
I
them with
wouldn't do
some
it.
raw coon hide.
And then my last tidbit of genius is
That might be cut out.
no, the Victorians celebrated Valentine's Day on the 14th, but the Victorians they gave wishes or Valentines. They're called vinegar Valentines. And literally, and this went on for
Any
centuries.
water?
No, they would write notes just absolutely busting balls for unwanted suitors, for cousins or uncles or people or somebody they didn't like or had a problem with.
The
They'd
airing
write
of grievances.
airing of grievances. Vinegar Valentines.
Festivus.
So, yeah. So you
the
just
rest
bust
of this.
balls like
It's like our
can't even think of a
podcast.
rhyme.
It's like our podcast.
Yeah, just
Go in and bust balls.
Yeah.
But I love you.
vinegar Valentines, and that's all I have for you, JJ.
Oh, good. I mean, that was nice.
Did you like
It wasn't as good as the last 2 weeks in a row. You were on your game.
You got another hair on your mic.
Shut
What the
up.
hell's going on, dude?
Am I losing my hair? Maybe.
It's
Took my hat off.
probably off a hide.
So that's our keeping with our Valentine theme. And keeping with our Valentine theme, do you have a Valentine Zen?
I do, from Cece, your
Oh,
buddy.
here, we got our Zen.
That's our gal, baby.
She is. She's an awesome lady. A bell is no bell until it rings. A song is no song until you sing. Love in your heart was not put there to stay, because love is not love till you give it away.
All right.
All right.
Oh, we got Oz in the crowd.
Oh.
Ah.
Oh.
And I'm not repeating it because that was
Well,
tough.
no, could you repeat it? Because
No.
my mic was off.
Yeah, I would-
Rewind it.
I mean, my headphones were off. My mic was off.
I wish.
Hit to go back 10 seconds.
And there's no need to repeat it. But it was a good one.
That was a good one.
Cece did good.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you,
was a
Cece.
good- Yeah, that was a good Valentine's one.
No, you know what?
Everyone
On Valentine's, you probably want to be in shape for Valentine's Day. You know where you can go get in better shape?
Prime
Yeah.
performance.
Prime Performance, STL.com. Go to their website. And that's where you can rediscover your prime. And they offer testosterone therapy, hormone therapy, vitamin injections, medical weight loss, IV therapy, and peptides. Where are they located, JJ? You don't have them notes, so
I
I'll
don't,
say
because you took care of it the last
Right.
couple of weeks.
I'll
One's in
take care of
Grand Boys Plaza.
1222 Central Park Drive over in Illinois and 44 Fenton Plaza.
Okay. I think I'm going to go there, Dan. You said you want to go. I'm thinking Monday or Tuesday if you're
Yeah,
available.
sweet. I'll go with you.
Yeah, you guys need
But
some
you know where
IV
you
therapy.
go for Valentine's if you really want to celebrate the way you want to celebrate it?
Where you go?
Riverman Cigar.
Yep. Because
Go
your
there,
wife,
smoke
your
cigar.
wife will love a good cigar. Get her one with a heart, with one of the bands with a heart on it.
And I'm just saying, spend your day there, just reflecting and smoke a cigar.
Absolutely. You go to 8984 Watson Road, go in there and just, if you love cigars, spend it with a cigar. Valentine's Day with a big old stogie.
Or if you really want to be a stud, you go to Schicker, right, and buy her a car.
Shop. We had lunch with him. So all our listeners, we really need you to go and buy your cars, new and used,
out.
from Schicker. And if your car breaks down, call the mobile Schicker van, because they have stepped up for another year of sponsorship of the Brighter Side of Blue.
Yes, sir.
In a big way. They like
Yo,
what
yo.
it's done. Yeah, so shop local, shop Schicker out of Union. You're on my.
Oh, I'm
thing.
sorry. We got to be so close together all the time. I think they do it on purpose, too.
I know. Like a rivalry.
I got some room over
like
here.
A rivalry.
I got a lot of room.
Yeah,
for
look
her.
at Tommy. He's luxury. He's got his elbows
What up?
But
You know-
anyway, they're sitting on like 1,500 Ford F-150s and used cars. Go by and shop local, shop Schicker.
Yep, we got a lot of our listeners are from Eureka. They're out there in Washington, Missouri, too, so you can visit them out there in Washington and Union.
Producer John.
Wait a minute. Before we get to him,
Okay.
What do you got?
no, not really, but we have, we're in Columbo's Cafe and Tavern. We should
You
promote
just
that.
figured that out?
No, but that people, we're every Thursday. Need to come down here and visit, but
6
and
o'clock.
partake with Columbo's.
And speaking of Columbo's in the bar business, you were one of our friends
Yes, that was
in
on my
the,
notes.
in the recently. Explain that.
One of my good buddies, Jimmy Wars, was he owned Bombers Bar. He owned Truman's before that. He was killed in November of 2021. And it was a crazy night. He wasn't even there. He was out. He has a habit of always going there at the end of the night to make sure everything's good. So he just shows up, and there was a big fight in the bar. Went outside. All his furniture was tossed around. He's like, "What's going on?" And I'm very good friends with them and the family and their sons. And so I was working that night. So I get a call that Jimmy had been run over, so been hit by a car. So I'm like, what are you talking about? So anyway, they threw these guys out. William Warren was he was the one that jumped in the car, jumped the curb, and ran over Jimmy, and it was horrific. And he drug him down the street, rolled over him, so he gets taken to Barnes Hospital, not Barnes Care, Barnes Hospital.
He didn't go to urgent.
Yeah, he went to Barnes, so I find this out. So this is during COVID. So I get a wind that he's on his way to the hospital, and I know the family real well, the son, his girlfriend Kim. So I rush to Barnes. I run in I'm in my uniform, so I think I'm going to be able to talk to him. They're like, where's the Wars family? He's out. They're all outside because it was COVID, and he couldn't go in there. So I go outside. Long story short, I end up having to take Shane, the youngest, back to the bar so he can show the video to the police. It's a crime scene. He gets run over, and unfortunately, he passes that night, which is a terrible story. I'm not going to get way into it. But today, the whole family had to go to the court because the guy he took a plea bargain, and they sentenced him today. He's been in jail for 3 years. They gave him 15. He's 3 for time served, so he's got 12 years to go on this. And it was just terrible. And he's not a good guy. He had Rosenblum's not Rosenblum, but one of his underlings. So they decided the best bet was to plea. And shout out to the Wars family. They were struggling. I met up with them at lunch today and at Maggie's downtown, and they weren't happy with the plea. They're not happy with the sentencing, but at least the only bright spot is they don't have to go through a trial and have to see the video and all the stuff. And the video is horrific. And I saw the video that night, and it was terrible. So.
Yeah. In that trial that I'm covering today, they went through the murder of one of the victims, and I'm across and TT's people are all in the one courtroom. Well, this particular victim's family all came in the courtroom I was in, and that's tough to see.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah. Wow. Well, he's in for another 12 years.
Yep, and yes, in LJ, I saw them. They didn't. When I first walked into Maggie's for lunch, see them. None of them were. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, but they came around, and they're good family and strong family, and
God bless.
Yep.
Feel like they got any closure out of that sentence, or
I don't think so. I don't know. Time will heal it a little bit, I guess. But to me, the thing is, they don't have to go drag through a trial, and probably maybe got 5 more years, maybe, who knows. But he was charged for murder first. They knocked it down to murder second. They dropped the 2 ACA charges against him. So
I think the accident occurred because the guy was trying to run over somebody that he was beefing with. And Jimmy just happened to be there.
That's one of the questions came up, and I got to find out. It was the bouncer. He's a great guy, real big man, and he actually got his leg broken. The guy hit him, broke his legs, and then Jimmy was just right there, and he fell in the hood of the car. So I'm not going to get.
And that's why they were charged with murder first, because he tried to hit somebody.
Right. But they dropped it to murder second, which I don't understand that, but it's a court thing, I guess.
Wow.
But anyway. All right, let's bring this back up to.
You just bumped us.
Producer John's probably got a story for us.
Producer, do you have a newsroom.com for us, Producer John?
I do. I'm just hoping I don't get hit with a pelt on the way out of here. First of all, but a card will be fine.
A card will be fine. The vinegar Valentine will be fine, but you don't want to get whacked with a pelt? All right.
Absolutely not. You know who the Son of Hope is? Well, the Son of Hope is the name this guy goes by now, but back in the 70s, he was known as Son of Sam. David Berkowitz. He went to prison for killing 6 people between 1976 and 1977. He was originally known as the 44 caliber killer, until he started writing letters to the newspaper where he called himself Son of Sam. And he wrote to Jimmy Breslin, who wrote for the New York Daily News. And but he would look for people in pairs. And it was usually like people who were like sitting in a car, like double park, like, finishing a date or whatever. And so he usually shot 2 people in each one of these things, but some of them lived, but he just, he was a guy who grew up in a broken family, and he started out stabbing people, but he couldn't, he was a terrible
Stabber.
Stabber.
This is a good Valentine's thing.
Yeah, no, right. From Valentine's Day to
I can feel the love. Keep going.
Right.
So he went and got himself a gun that was a lot more proficient
Right.
with that. And then anyway, he's in prison. He goes up for parole every year now. He pled guilty to 6 murders and a bunch of assaults but now he's like a motivational speaker. He writes books and whatnot.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I want to hear my motivation from.
Yeah.
but anyway, I like to bring up all the serial killers. You know,
Yeah, you're doing good.
How old is he now?
he's in his 70s.
So he got
Gotta be getting old.
this is the son of Sam, right?
Yeah.
So he only got convicted of 6 murders, correct?
Now, how is he up for parole?
This guy that TT,
Yeah.
they're charging him with 9. You should hear I mean,
So he's a serial killer.
this dude, and the 9 is the only ones they put forward.
That is, I get what you're saying here.
Son of
Sam
TT
killed 6.
Son of TT's a bad motherfucker compared to Son of Sam.
And Son of Sam didn't sell no drugs, but he got the name Son of
pussy.
Sam. It was he claimed that his neighbor's dog used to speak to him and tell him to kill people.
What kind of dog was it?
And now he's a motivational speaker.
It was a pissed off dog.
A pissed off dog. No, but we need to know what kind of dog tells somebody like that.
Talking
I
dog.
know it was a black dog.
talking
I don't
dog.
know which breed it was. But anyway, he later said he made all that shit up. He just killed people because he liked doing it.
He was the original Woody. Just making shit up.
Hey,
Oh my
hey,
God.
listen, let's go back to your trial, TT,
Uh-huh.
Tommy trial. They said this Judge Autry is just a total difference because we talked about the Woody trial, and now you got this real professional federal trial. The other one was a state trial. Explain the difference between the Woody, which was a joke, to this judge takes no.
One of the days, the first day a phone went off and they kicked the guy out. You can't come back. Even when your phone goes off, done for the whole trial. Somebody got caught sleeping. They got him. And then yesterday, one of the guys that got kicked out of the trial tried to come back in the next morning. They spotted him. They weren't going to let him in. He caused a ruckus. Judge came out. Get him out of here.
Wow.
The marshals got him. They went down. I don't know what they got it. They hit him with, I would imagine, federal peace disturbance, which probably bites a little bit more than the state. And then today, judge started the whole court with no more bull. There isn't going to be any bullshit in here because he said, I will not. He goes, I have the right to, and he said, this is my last option, but I have the right to kick everybody out of the courtroom.
Wow.
And just us.
I
And
like
we
it.
just sit in here.
That's what the people in Atlanta that did their
They
trial.
should watch this.
They should be up here watching how a real courtroom works.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Judge Autry's looking good too, by the way.
He said.
That dude's been on the bench forever, ever since I've been a policeman,
Yeah.
either at the state or the thing. So that's 88. So
Yeah.
No, Judge Autry's a great man.
Yes, he is.
He's a great judge, and I always like going in front of him because he didn't put up with any
Any
crap,
crap in
at
the
all.
audience.
Yeah.
God love him.
Tommy, you have an update on Brighter Side of Blue going live?
we do not, John, do we? I don't think we do. It'll happen in a couple weeks.
Huggy
Jake,
would have had to answer.
I think it's all about the
Nobody would have heard it.
it's all about the internet service we get down here.
John put a picture of Huggy at the front door guy here and said, if he shows up, don't let him in.
He's a scared.
He's not allowed in.
What else
No,
you got?
it's the internet service. So we checked it a while back. Wasn't sufficient enough. And then now we're working through getting stronger internet
Columbus
service
need to
down
buck
here.
up and get faster internet service.
Either that or give it.
He's like,
Well, Greg Colombo, if you're listening, pay
Right.
your bill.
Right. Or we're taking this picture with us.
Yeah, we'll take that picture. That was pretty neat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, grab it real
John,
quick.
you want to talk about that real quick? Producer John?
Yeah, Steve James, our friend, the artist. Turns out that his family goes back a long way with the Columbos because, as you know, they cash checks here, and Steve's family members have been coming in here getting checks cashed. So
Here's the picture.
Jake, producer Jake, can we see this? Yeah. Cut out the part where I look like
Right.
Woody.
I think it's
What?
great because Tommy's right there looks like a dork.
He does.
I got the whip, though, so I'm about to whip somebody's ass.
Tommy's the most accurate drawing of all.
Up there, though. He nails me up here.
Well,
I think we should do the rest of the shows just like this and just let Danny talk. Hey, Danny, talk.
I wonder if Steve can do like cartoons and animation and stuff.
Yeah. I'm surprised we still can't see Danny with his neck. He's up there.
His neck's in the next picture.
Why'd I get busted on? What the hell? Oh, jeez. All right, Tommy, you got anything before we go to our community?
I got not tune into the updates.
Yeah.
Every day I put an update out on YouTube on TT trial. You can go back to day one, start there. I try to keep them as short as possible. Like today's was only 10 minutes, but sometimes yesterday, like one of the cooperating witnesses testified all day.
Snitch.
And they can provide a lot of entertaining testimony, and obviously they connect the dots. But tune into that, and obviously, as always, communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
Peace.
Peace.